5. The quiet days quietly passed. When Xiao Yan opened his eyes once again, nearly 10 days had passed. Finally, the flame spirit source has been completely refined into my body. Xiao Yan looked at the flame spirit source in front of him, which was trembling like a candle in the cold wind that could disappear at any moment. He gently inhaled a breath of air. The hard work he had put in during this period of time had finally paid off. Next, I will turn all of this energy into origin cheese. After muttering to himself, Xiao Yan lazily stretched out his somewhat weak limbs. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. It was even clearer than the sound of surging magma. His body shook, and his clothes, which had almost turned into ashes, were shaken off. His skin was boiling hot, as if it was on fire. The pores all over his body gradually shrank. Without any hesitation, Xiao Yan formed another 10-finger seal and entered into his cultivation. While Xiao Yan was immersed in his cultivation, the wind and clouds in the outside world were suddenly stirred. News that the capital of chaos had fallen into an earthquake came one after another. Xiao Yan of the Yunluo Academy used an evil technique to kill the Spirit King. All the Spirit Kings were filled with grief and indignation. This is an act of provocation against the chaotic crowd. We all swear that we will kill Xiao Yan. We will use the soul of the Soul King to reforge the reputation of the chaotic crowd. A few days later, a clamor suddenly sounded out from the chaotic crowd of dragons. The leader of the group, Shen Kanglong, was gnashing his teeth in anger. The words that came out of his mouth were like a hurricane that instantly spread across the entire capital of chaos. The Blood Barbarian tribe is willing to follow the Azure Dragon army to capture and kill Xiao Yan. Extreme Star Group is willing to follow the Azure Dragon army to capture and kill Xiao Yan. The Heaven Charming tribe is willing to follow the Azure Dragon tribe to capture and kill Xiao Yan. Before the crowd could recover from their shock, the top 10 disciples of the chaotic crowd responded. The news that spread out had shaken the entire capital of chaos. In an instant, a storm was brewing in the capital of chaos. Almost all the major powers had turned their attention to one of the main characters of this matter, the Yunluo Academy. Xiao Yan's name had been imprinted in the deepest part of their memories ever since the Yunluo Academy had invited all the major powers to bear witness to the prophecy of the heavens. Although they had never seen the former's face, this name, however, they still had a deep impression of this name. These powerful sect members of the chaotic 100 sects. They had actually provoked the Yunluo Academy at this time. While they were feeling puzzled, they were even more excited. After all, this was the capital of chaos. It had been a long time since they had seen such a large-scale battle. The Spirit King was killed by Xiao Yan. No wonder he is the #1 expert of the 4 academies competition. However, using this as an excuse to declare war on the Yunluo Academy is truly unbelievable. In the sub-alliance of the Mercenary Alliance in the capital of chaos, all the elders of different halls were gathered together and were discussing amongst themselves. A battle of this scale was simply too crazy. With the Yunluo Academy's resources, even if these disciples joined forces, they wouldn't be able to gain the upper hand. Let's not talk about that mysterious great elder of the Yunluo Academy. Just the Qi Bai and Old Mu aren't something these people can take. A fat and bald old man tore off the chicken in his hand in a few moves. He stroked his shiny beard and said disapprovingly, "It's hard to say. This time, other than the Spirit Kings and the top 3, the remaining 6 disciples from the top 10 sects in the chaos are united against the common enemy. With the combined strength of 6 Emperor Cultivation Warriors and the countless Monarch Emperor Warriors in the sect, they are still a threat to the Yunluo Academy." An old man in a gray robe glanced at the former and said in a deep voice. It was Zhu Jun, who had intercepted Xiao Yan earlier. He had lost the Realm Traversal Jade. Although he had reported it to Li Xianfeng, the latter had yet to make a move. Therefore, he could only wait anxiously. These 6 men are really brave. The Yunluo Academy has just won the 4 academies competition's victory, and they are both in the limelight. I think the reward given by the heavens must be innumerable as well. These 6 men are throwing eggs at a stone for the sake of a Spirit King and some Bull*T reputation. They don't know what death is. Another young man in white suddenly stood up. He put away the folding fan in his hand and said with a disdainful smile. His name was Shu Yan, and he was the grandson of the Supreme Elder of the Mercenary Alliance, Shu Wanyan. Shu Wanyan's status was even higher than Li Xianfeng's, and with Shu Yan's strength, he was full of pride. Elder Shu is right. These guys are always scheming against each other. They are old and cunning. I really don't believe that they will join forces to declare war on the Yunluo Academy for the sake of a spirit king. This is simply courting death. Yi also stood up abruptly and spoke in a low voice. What if it's because of Black Nether Emperor? Xu Yan sneered and looked at Yi with disdain. He was very interested in the fact that the latter had lost the realm traversal jade. Even with his status, he had never seen such an important thing before. These two trash had actually just witnessed the realm traversal jade being taken away by Xiao Yan. Black Nether Emperor, even if he is a monarch cultivation, can he make these 6 smart guys willingly sacrifice their lives for him? Zhu Jun could clearly hear the contempt in Xu Yan's words, so he immediately responded. Work for him? Not really, but I have heard from my grandfather that the 3 sovereigns of Capital of Chaos are not simple. Furthermore, Black Nether Emperor has been chasing after them with great fanfare these days. Xiao Yan, everyone, don't forget that a few days ago, the people of Dark Underworld exchanged a large sum of money for a seriously injured low-grade holy beast. Xu Yan suddenly opened the folding fan in his hand, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. We naturally know about this matter. That low-grade holy beast was captured by the South Star region's branch elders. Its strength has been greatly reduced, and even if it's a grade 7 medicine pill, it won't be able to recover in a short period of time. No matter how powerful the Dark World's people are, can they still provide a pile of grade 7 medicine pills? Yi followed Xu Yan's words and said urgently, what's the point of talking nonsense here? Everything will come to an end. It's the right decision to come to this capital of chaos. It's getting more and more interesting. Xu Yan coldly harumphed. Then, he looked at the entrance of the main hall. His eyes were slightly narrowed, and the corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Yunluo Academy. When the news of the capital of chaos was spread out, Elder Shao received the news immediately. At this moment, in the formation space under the Heaven Pillar Peak, Su Ziyang's face was ashen. He smashed the stone pillar beside him with his fist, causing all the elders to tremble. What a ridiculous excuse. The death of a single spirit king. Can it make all these old men unite? There must be something wrong with this. Elder Wu took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. He had heard about the news of Xiao Yan killing a spirit king a long time ago, and he was extremely excited in his heart. When he heard this news today, the first thing that popped up in his mind was the absurdity. This isn't just absurd. All of these old men wished that they could just let it go. The other side is dead. The spiritual king is dead. They should be glad that it's too late. How could they join hands? The vice president of the Elixir Association, Elder Yi, also laughed coldly. No matter what these old foxes are planning, they have already made up their mind to attack the Yunluo Academy. It's impossible for them to hand over Xiao Yan, but Elder Qi is in seclusion, and the Great Elder has left the academy. Now, the odds are against us. An elder who held a high position in the punishment department spoke in a deep voice, and his voice was filled with worry. If they dare to come here, this will be their burial ground. Capital of Chaos is in chaos. This time, we will make it change the sky. Su Ziyang coldly harumphed. His killing intent was stern, and his expression was somewhat ferocious. Elder Su is right. We will kill one of them if they come. If they come, we will kill 2 of them. Although the Great Elder and Elder Qi can't attack, we still have a lot of trump cards. They are just a few Emperor cultivation warriors. I would like to see what kind of storm they can create. Elder Xiao's calm expression had also changed, and he roared furiously with an ashen face. Let's go. Within the Dark World, Black Nether Emperor was standing in the main hall. His cold and emotionless eyes were staring at the outside of the hall as if he had seen through everything. Suddenly, he muttered to himself. Boom! In the endless sea of trees thousands of miles away, the 6 gangs, who had already prepared themselves, were led by a few people in front of them. All of them soared into the sky together. The Origin Qi wings on their backs flapped. Nearly 100 people had actually reached the Monarch Emperor and above. Hundreds of human figures rushed towards the Yunluo Academy like the wind chasing the moon. They broke through the clouds and streaked across the sky. Their killing intent shook the heavens and the earth. 0 inches. Nearly 100 Monarch Emperor warriors. My God! Are these 6 men really crazy? They are simply taking out all their belongings. It seems like these guys have been thinking about the Yunluo Academy for a long time. The death of the Spirit King is just an excuse. However, the Yunluo Academy has never had any grudges with these people. There are no conflicts of interest between them. Why would they suddenly issue a challenge? Hee. This is interesting. I estimate that the Dark Nether will be the ones to push the matter further. Otherwise, these people won't dare to face the two elders of the Yunluo Academy, Chi Bai and Chi Bai. ... On a distant mountain peak, many people were watching the 6 groups of people leaving. Discussions were heard everywhere. All kinds of speculations came out from the mouths of these people. While the crowd was discussing among themselves, there were naturally quite a number of people who were planning their thoughts. They merely hesitated for a moment before quietly following behind. This kind of battle was something that they had never seen in many years. If they really fought, regardless of which side won, it would be a great bargain for them. He really came, a reckless fellow. In the outer courtyard of Yunluo Academy, Su Ziyang stood with his hands behind his back. He stood at the front and looked into the distance. There, a huge wave of qi was slowly surging over, causing the sky to be filled with dark clouds and the pressure of the formation. There was no expression on Su Ziyang's face, and he was surrounded by it. However, his qi was slowly rising. It was as deep as an abyss and incomparably strong. At this moment, all the outer court students and instructors had been sent into the inner court. Even the elders, who had yet to reach the monarch emperor, had been moved into the inner court. If this battle really began, those below the monarch emperor would not be able to fight back at all. The academy's defensive formation has been activated. It won't be so easy for them to break it. Elder Shao stood beside Su Ziyang. His eyes were slightly narrowed, and there was a trace of anger in his eyes. Moreover, after obtaining the reward from the heavens, the Academy's attack formation has been successfully activated. It's impossible for them to take a step forward without paying a price. After hearing Elder Shao's words, all the Monarch Emperor-level elders behind him had excited expressions on their faces, and the worry in their hearts had also dissipated. Xiao Yan is cultivating, and Wu Shaoqi is also cultivating the Fire Emperor scripture in the realm in Valley. The reputation of the realm in Valley will still depend on you. A few young men and women stood beside the elders. They were the students of the realm in Valley. At this moment, Su Qingwu's coquettish eyes moved slightly. She looked at Xiao Yi and said with a smile, "I really didn't come back at the right time." Xiao Yi crossed his arms in front of his chest. When he heard Su Qingwu's words, he smiled and teased her. Then, he looked at Yuan Tianmu and said in a deep voice, "You two are not far from Monarch Emperor, right? If we work together, we should be able to deal with 2 Monarch Emperor warriors." Yuan Tianmu was wearing a white robe. He stood straight and had a handsome face. When he heard what Su Qingwu said, he just smiled and said with a sigh, "If Mu Yuyang and Lin Dao were still here, with their abilities, each of them would be able to fight at least 3 Monarch Emperor warriors. It's a pity. 3 of them." Xiao Yi nodded slightly. His eyes sparkled, and the image of Xiao Yan appeared in his mind. "I wonder how many of them that guy can handle. I wonder how strong he will become after absorbing the source of flame spirit." Shaking his head, a smile suddenly emerged on Xiao Yi's face. He thought of the fellow who had caused all the elders of Xiao clan to be unable to eat or drink. Xiao Tianyi. Some of the elders in the family must be very happy that he was able to take away the great profound strong wind thunder from the Thundercloud clan by force. If the elders of the Xiao clan knew about this, they might not gloat over it. After all, the Thundercloud clan without the great profound strong wind thunder was much weaker than the Xiao clan. Previously, the Xiao clan couldn't do anything to the Golden Emperor Phoenix Heavenly Flame, but the great profound strong wind thunder was one of the treasures that the Thundercloud clan relied on the most. "Where's Grandma Bai?" Frowning, Elder Wu looked around and asked carefully. "She is protecting Elder Qi. It can also be said that she is a trump card. Just in case the people of the Dark World intervene." Elder Shao's eyes were gloomy. The murderous aura around the forest where the Yunluo Academy was located was getting stronger and stronger. Elder Wu nodded silently. He had already expected that the Dark Abyss would intervene. Otherwise, these 6 people would not have the courage to do so. The Dark Nether isn't the only one that needs to be careful. There are others as well. Su Ziyang smiled coldly and suddenly said, "Are you trying to push the wall down? I want to see who fell first." Elder Wu clenched his fists tightly in his sleeves. He gritted his teeth and spoke in a cold voice. "They are here." Before he finished his words, Su Ziyang's sharp voice suddenly resounded across the entire scene. Everyone's eyes looked towards the sky in the distance. Over there, the voices of hundreds of people stopped in midair. They were like a black cloud that was pressing down on the city, bringing with them an indescribable sense of oppression. What a grand gesture! So many monarch emperor warriors. Elder Shao stroked his beard and snorted coldly. The top 10 gangs of the chaotic 100 clans had joined forces and sent out their full force. It was reasonable that there were so many monarch emperor warriors. Black Nether Emperor didn't come. Elder Lu of the Pill Association's gaze was like a bolt of lightning. His majestic soul power quickly swept across the people outside the grand formation and said in a deep voice, "That old fellow is probably waiting as well." Elder Wu's face was ashen. Even though he was separated by the great defensive formation, he could still feel this unparalleled pressure. He had never seen such a scene before. This sudden fierce battle caused him to feel extremely nervous. The capital of chaos isn't big enough for all of you. How dare you have designs on the Yunluo Academy? I say, all of you must be tired of living. Su Ziyang leapt into the sky and looked coldly at the 6 people standing in front of them. Elder Su, you are still as tough as ever. I just don't know if you can still be so arrogant after your turtle shell is broken. A burly man wearing beast skin clothes was topless, and his eyes were blood red. He looked like a madman, and he snorted disdainfully at Su Ziyang's words. The burly man was the leader of the Blood Barbarian tribe, Gu Man. 6 leaders working together. This is a rare sight. This scene was like the death of my son, joining hands to fight the enemy. Elder Shao followed closely behind and soared into the sky, attracting the topic of conversation. As soon as the words left his mouth, it attracted the laughter of all the sect elders below. The faces of the monarch emperor higher-ups who were following behind the 6 of them turned ugly as well. They looked at each other with puzzled eyes. Even they didn't know that they, who were usually bitter and hated each other, would suddenly join hands to fight the Yunluo Academy. Old man, you are really good at talking. The only female amongst the 6 of them was a beautiful woman who was emitting a seductive aura. The woman was the sect master of the Heaven's Charming Sect, and her name was Yu Mei R. She was wearing a red dress, and her chest was half exposed. Her fair and beautiful legs were exposed, making her look extremely seductive. When she heard Elder Shao's words, her bright and beautiful voice echoed in the air in a languid manner. She was the sect master of the Heaven's Charming Sect, and her name was Yu Mei R. She was wearing a red dress, and her breasts were half exposed. Don't talk nonsense with them. I don't believe that this turtle shell can protect you for long. A tall and thin man in a green dragon robe waved his hand. A blood-red light flashed in his eyes, and his voice was cold. He was the sect master of the Azure Dragon Sect, who had declared war on the Yunluo Academy. He was Shen Kanglong, and his strength was unfathomable. He had always been on good terms with the Spirit Kings. Then, you can give it a try. Su Ziyang's voice was filled with anger. He suddenly pressed his palms together, and a majestic origin chi rose from his palms. In an instant, it transformed into a boundless white chi, and merged into the grand formation in front of him. In an instant, the chi on the grand formation surged violently, and numerous ripples spread out, injecting the powerful origin chi into the formation. "Break for me!" Shen Kanglong stood in front of everyone. He shouted furiously and waved his hand. The 100 monarch emperor warriors behind him had already received the orders of their respective sect masters. Immediately, they roared in unison and unleashed numerous powerful attacks. All of them landed on the grand formation in the distance. The ferocious force caused the area around the Yunluo Academy to become endless. Lin Hai had turned into a piece of scorched earth, leaving no trace behind. Let's go too. In the depths of an unknown giant vein in capital of chaos, Black Nether Emperor looked into the distance. His face was covered by a black robe, and no expression could be seen on his face. After saying that, he lightly stepped out with his right foot. In an instant, he soared into the sky, and 2 of his subordinates followed closely behind him. Under his feet, there was a pair of crimson eyes. It was a ferocious black flood dragon with scales all over its body. It was shining like molten iron, and it gave off an indescribably ferocious aura. Wherever the aura spread, all the spirit beasts and heavenly beasts trembled. They did not move at all, and let out a low and deep wail. Tu Weng. Nearly 100 brilliant attacks struck the Yunluo Academy's defensive formation at the same time. The sound waves caused everyone's brain to buzz and spread out for thousands of miles, causing the surrounding trees to turn into fragments and scatter in all directions. The heavy dark clouds in the sky were dispersed at this moment, and some of the weaker ones even had their blood and qi tumbling within their bodies, causing them to almost fall out of the city. Above the defensive formation, ripples appeared on the surface of the defensive formation, and the origin qi interweaved with each other. It was like a turbulent lake, and it was not calm at all. However, it didn't have the slightest bit of damage. The combined attack of nearly 100 Monarch Emperor level expert was actually completely absorbed by the Grand Formation. Hiss! What a terrifying formation! It's actually so indestructible, worthy of being one of the 4 great academies that have stood tall in the starfield for a long time. Even though it's at the bottom, its foundation is also unfathomable. On the distant mountains, many experts that had followed behind them saw that the attacks of several hundred Monarch Emperor experts had returned empty-handed. All of them cried out in shock, and they exclaimed repeatedly, "What a hard tortoise shell!" A fierce expression flashed across Shen Kanglong's dignified face. His gloomy eyes looked at Su Ziyang, who was standing in the formation. The latter's expression was cold, and his cold gaze slowly swept across everyone. "Elder Su, I admire you as well. As long as you hand Xiao Yan over, we will leave immediately." Shen Kanglong's cold voice resounded across the land. The other 5 people remained silent, apparently with the former as the center. What wishful thinking! Use your brain to think. What did the number 1 man of 4 academies competition say? He is the number 1 amongst his peers in the starfield. His potential is limitless in the future. Not to mention killing a spirit king, even if he kills all the people in the chaos, who would dare to say no? Su Ziyang's eyes were sharp as he surveyed his surroundings. His deep voice resounded in everyone's ears. "I'm afraid that today's incident has already spread across the starfield. Let those people who once looked down on the Yunluo take a look. No matter how weak our Yunluo is, we can still protect our own students." Su Ziyang's angry shout became louder and louder. Both of his eyes turned slightly red, as if he had vented all the anger in his heart. It had been so many years since the Yunluo Academy was in such a sorry state, and no one had come to their doorstep to ask for their students. Today, only those who died in battle are left in the Yunluo Academy. Elder Xiao also spoke in a stern voice. He waved his sleeve, and the wind and clouds surged. His strength was much stronger than the leaders of these gangs. With the protection of the Yunluo Academy's Grand Formation, he was able to deal with these guys for a while. "Stubborn fool. The strongest gang in my chaotic 100 clans has joined hands to attack us. If we can't destroy your Yunluo Academy, we will be ridiculed by everyone in the world." Shen Kanglong's expression was ferocious. Behind him, there were close to 100 Monarch Emperor level experts. There were a total of 6 Emperor cultivation experts. Such a scale, even some of the medium-sized powers in the star field couldn't reach it. "If that's the case, I'll satisfy all of you. Let's see how I break your turtle shell." Gu Man shouted from the side, his muscles bulging. With a wave of his hand, a blood-red heaven-grade weapon shot up into the sky. As his blood surged, it transformed into a green barbaric bull. It was 1,000 feet long, and its 4 hooves took turns to stomp across the air. Under the furious roar of the ancient barbarian, the green barbaric bull let out a few gasps. White smoke came out of its nose, and it seemed to burn the air. After that, it raised its head and howled towards the sky. Then, it furiously rushed towards the Grand Protective Formation. His 2 horns seemed as if they were going to pierce a hole in the heaven and earth. It seemed as if the entire mountain range was trembling because of this. This is Green Desolate Axe. The ancient barbarians really are willing to use it. The Green Desolate Barbaric Bull can only summon it 10 times, but I didn't think that it would be used so quickly. Seeing the appearance of the Azure Desolate Barbaric Bull, some people who knew about it couldn't help but suck in a deep breath and mutter to themselves. The Barbaric Bull? Could it be a manifestation of the Green Desolate Axe? Impossible. A heavenly weapon has a spirit. Doesn't it require one to reach the high grade of a heavenly weapon to have such an ability? Upon hearing this, the people at the side couldn't help but exclaim in shock. In the vast capital of chaos, They had never heard of anyone possessing a high-grade heavenly weapon, except for the mysterious three sovereigns. The Azure Desolate Axe is a heavenly weapon inherited from the ancient times. It is supported by a formation, and it is quite unique. It was obtained by the ancient barbarians. With this formation, we can temporarily summon the Azure Desolate Barbaric Bull. Unfortunately, this formation can only be used 10 times. The old man who spoke earlier let out a long sigh. Clearly, he knew a lot about the Azure Desolate Axe. Rumble. The green barbaric bull was running in the air, but the surrounding mountain peaks were constantly shaking. Giant rocks fell and the mountain shook, causing some of the weaker people's faces to turn pale. The power of this suppression was really shocking. Buzz. Under everyone's gaze, the barbaric bull was like a shooting star that streaked across the sky. Its huge horn violently smashed into the Yunluo Academy's grand formation. In an instant, the ground shook, and numerous hideous and terrifying cracks suddenly appeared, spreading far and wide. Wu. Su Ziyang, who was controlling the grand formation, turned pale. He forcefully swallowed the blood that was gushing out of his throat. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked at the barbaric bull outside the grand formation. Under the violent impact of the bull, the grand formation that was protecting the entire academy was on the verge of collapse. If this thing was allowed to enter the academy, no one knew what the consequences would be. This is the ancient barbaric bull. I have only heard of it. I never thought that it would be so powerful. Elder Shao had a solemn expression as he looked at the mountain-sized barbaric bull in the air. His palms were also covered in sweat. The defensive grand formation of our Yunluo Academy isn't just for show. Su Ziyang coldly harumphed. He moved his 10 fingers and the boundless origin chi in his body whistled. At the same time, the defensive formation, which was on the verge of collapse, regained its stability. The defensive formation was built by the 2 directors of Yunluo Academy. Although it had been worn down for a long time, it had been stabilized by the reward given by the heavens this time. Hong! 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 Every time the green barbaric bull collided with the formation, the earth would tremble. Whether it was the elders of Yunluo Academy or the monarch emperor level expert among the chaotic crowd, their minds were buzzing. Their eyes were filled with shock as they looked at the green barbaric bull. Ow! After about 10 collisions, the grand formation began to tremble once more. Su Ziyang was already drenched in sweat. The consumption of origin cheese to maintain the grand formation was truly astonishing. Even with the best medicine pill in the Pill Association, it was still unable to keep up with the rate of consumption. Bastard. Gu Man's expression was gloomy in the distance. He had never expected that the grand formation of the Yunluo Academy would be so firm. He looked at the green desolate barbarian bull in the distance. The latter's body actually had a trace of an illusion. Just as Gu Man was hesitating, a blood-red light suddenly flashed across his eyes. In an instant, his entire body seemed to have received some kind of stimulation. He once again let out a hysterical roar. The blood-colored origin chi around the barbaric bull howled. However, after a moment, the barbaric bull regained its vigorous appearance. It continued to hiss as it rammed into the grand formation in front of it. It has actually been used once again. When the monarch emperor who belonged to the blood barbarian tribe saw this, their eyes were filled with shock. They knew the effects of the Azure Desolate Axe very well, and naturally, they knew how stingy the ancient barbarian tribe was to the barbaric bull. They had to consider using it again and again even at the critical moment of life and death. Who would have thought that it would only take a short period of time? It had actually been used twice, and endless questions lingered in the minds of everyone. However, the other 5 leaders were expressionless, as if they were not shocked at all. Boom! The green barbaric bull howled. Su Ziyang, who was taking the medicine pill, was caught off guard and was sent flying once again. He was caught by Xiao Yi and the others behind him. The moment Su Ziyang was sent flying, a sound that sounded like glass shattering resounded in everyone's ears. The grand formation has been broken? Everyone was shocked. Then, they looked up to the sky above the Yunluo Academy. A ray of light soared into the sky, covering the light of the sun. Then, it slowly dissipated. The appearance of the Yunluo Academy was completely exposed in front of everyone's eyes. It's over. Once the grand formation is broken, the Yunluo Academy will be at the mercy of others. Although the inner courtyard and realm and valley also have a formation protecting them, it's over. Once the grand formation is broken, the Yunluo Academy will be at their mercy. When they saw the formation break, everyone in the distance sighed helplessly. In the end, it was still Su Ziyang who was too weak. If it was a monarch cultivation warrior maintaining the formation, it would take Gu Man a lot of effort to break it. What a disappointment. On a cliff, Shu Yan, who was wearing a white robe, smiled coldly. He pulled back the folding fan in his hand. He had thought that the Yunluo Academy would reach a certain level, but he didn't expect it to be broken so quickly. I am really puzzled. Why didn't the two elders of the Yunluo Academy, Qi Bai, show up? And that mysterious great elder? They haven't shown up yet. Shu Yan mumbled to himself. His eyes were filled with doubt. Kill! Seeing the formation break, joy surged onto everyone's faces. Shen Kanglong waved his hand and furiously roared. Boom! In an instant, nearly 100 streams of qi soared into the sky. Like 100 piercingly cold beams, they rushed towards the Yunluo Academy. You have underestimated us. Killing intent emerged on Su Ziyang's face as he stood up. In an instant, he formed several hand seals, and with a loud bang, the killing intent of this world rose. Attack and kill formation, activate. Elders, listen up. Protect the academy and kill the traitors. Su Ziyang and Elder Xiao's voices resounded at the same time. Zero boom. The moment the grand defensive formation broke, nearly 100 silhouettes rushed into the Yunluo Academy like locusts. In an instant, the origin qi whistled, causing the exquisite mountain wood in the Yunluo Academy to break apart inch by inch. The waterfall flowed backward, and the majestic palace turned into ashes in an instant. Su Ziyang and the others were standing on the square. The moment the chaotic crowd of people attacked, all the elders shouted at the same time. Under the lead of Elder Xiao, all of them soared into the sky and fearlessly blocked the attack of nearly 100 people. At the same time, the Su Ziyangs around Su Ziyang's body rolled, as if they were going to tear the world apart. They stirred the origin qis in this area and maintained the grand killing formation. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless arrows that were flashing with cold lights shot out from the various buildings behind him. It was as if they had eyes, and they flashed past the elders of the Yunluo Academy. They rushed towards the enemies that were charging at them. Arg! Countless sharp arrows flew through the air, and according to the different materials used to make the arrows, when they came into contact with the origin qi in the air, the arrowhead would emit a bright light. Some were burning with blazing flames, and some were even producing explosive lightning. When it flew into the crowd, it actually broke through the origin qi armor of these origin qis. The remaining force didn't reduce at all as it bombarded everyone's bodies. Immediately, miserable cries sounded out from the crowd. The 6 Emperor cultivation warriors, led by Shen Kanglong, didn't attack immediately. Instead, they stood in midair and quietly watched the intense battle that was going on in Yunluo Academy. When they saw the endless arrows flying out, their expressions changed slightly. Devil-breaking arrow. How can it have such power? The sect master of Extreme Star Group, Hong Xing, was among them. At this moment, his eyes were red as he looked at the endless arrows and murmured to himself. The devil-slaying arrow that he had seen before could only push back a sovereign at most. A king, these arrows in front of him could actually injure a monarch emperor. The Yunluo Academy has obtained the first place in the 4 academies competition. The reward from the heavens must be very generous. This formation has also been strengthened. It's not surprising that the devil-slaying arrows have such power. Shen Kanglong's voice was heavy. A trace of pain flashed in the depths of his eyes, as if he had just recalled something. However, after thinking for a while, his mind felt like it was going to explode. He could only put this pain to the back of his mind. Let's also prepare to attack. Gu Man's face was gloomy. He held a strange-looking green axe in his hand. His muscles bulged, and his eyes were fixed on the distant sky. Under the lead of Elder Xiao, although there were less than 30 Monarch Emperor-level elders from the Yunluo Academy, they were able to temporarily block their fierce attacks. There's no hurry. Shen Kanglong's eyes sparkled. Suddenly, as if he had sensed something, he looked behind him. The sky in the distance could be seen with a single glance, and a majestic aura that blotted out the sky and covered the earth swept over. The instant Shen Kanglong turned around, all the experts present seemed to have sensed something. All of them looked into the distance. There seemed to be a force that caused one's heart to tremble as it gushed out, shaking the heavens and the earth. It's Black Nether Emperor. Sure enough, he has come. All of this must have been planned by him. This Black Nether Emperor is really generous. He has been in seclusion for so many years and suddenly appeared. He just wants to devour the Yunluo Academy in one go. He. To be honest, Black Nether Emperor's strength is considered a giant in the capital of chaos, but once he leaves this place, he will be considered nothing. If he can annihilate the Yunluo Academy, his name will probably spread across the entire world. To him, this is a good thing. The people on the mountain were discussing amongst themselves. Even if they had never seen Black Nether Emperor's strength before, they knew a thing or two about him. If the latter attacked him personally, it would be hard to say whether the Yunluo Academy would be able to survive. He's here. Xu Yan stood on the cliff. His eyes were fiery hot as he looked into the distance. At that spot, a huge flood dragon broke through the sky and arrived. A black figure stood on the huge body of the flood dragon. Just by standing there, it gave off an unstoppable force. Even though they were thousands of miles apart, Xu Yan could still sense this origin chi that caused one's scalp to turn numb. This fellow, his strength is clearly much weaker than the old man, but his chi is not the slightest bit weaker. Taking a deep breath, Xu Yan's eyes were filled with shock. He then looked at the flood dragon under the feet of the black shadow. Its ferocious and monstrous chi seemed to tear apart the clouds in the sky. Profound dark dragon snake, this injury has not fully recovered yet. How can there be such a chi? Xu Yan quivered. He stared at the gigantic flood dragon in disbelief. The profound dark dragon snake was a low-grade holy beast that the Mercenary Alliance had captured a few days ago. It was a holy beast that had suffered a fatal injury. It was comparable to a human monarch cultivation warrior, but its injuries were too severe. There was basically no way for it to recover. Just as the elders of the Mercenary Alliance were discussing how to kill it and obtain its saint core, Black Nether Emperor suddenly asked someone to use a large sum of money to exchange for the sacred core. As the grandson of Ghost Venerable Xu Wanyan, Xu Yan knew a thing or two about this matter. Strange things. Xu Yan's brows were tightly knitted. His eyes were fixed on the profound dark dragon snake that was getting closer and closer, and his heart was in turmoil. Boom! Elder Xiao's expression was dark and cold. As he waved his sleeve, a violent storm was brewing. A similar attack was suddenly unleashed. In the blink of an eye, it killed a seriously injured monarch emperor in front of him. The origin chi that filled the sky surged, and the latter's corpse fell to the ground. Damn it! Elder Xiao's furious gaze swept across the entire scene. He was furious and furious. The monarch emperor, who had thrown hundreds of people into chaos, had deliberately bypassed him to attack the other monarch emperor-level elders. In such a short period of time, the Yunluo Academy had become one of them. At least 2 of the elders had lost their combat strength, and no one knew whether they were still alive or dead. Despite that, under the siege of the devil-slaying arrows and his surprise attack, nearly 10 of the chaotic monarch emperor had lost their combat strength. In this chaotic battle, even a monarch emperor could only die if they were careless. Furthermore, Su Ziyang had yet to make a move. Hong! Just as Elder Xiao was about to step forward and help Elder Wu, who was fighting fiercely with 2 enemies not far away, a cold murderous aura suddenly filled the air. It was like the will of death that could destroy the world, causing a chill to run down his spine. Could it be Black Nether Emperor? Elder Xiao reacted in an instant. He suddenly stopped and looked into the distance with an unsightly expression. There, a figure was standing on a gigantic flood dragon. It descended like a god. Greetings, Lord. The moment Black Nether Emperor stepped on the profound serene dragon snake and appeared, the 6 of them bowed slightly. The respect in their tone caused everyone to be stunned. When did these unruly fellows show such respect to Black Nether Emperor? That is, Black Nether Emperor? One of the 3 emperors of Capital of Chaos? After trying his best to get rid of the 2 monarch emperor enemies, Xiao Yi's eyes turned cold. He looked at the man in black who had appeared in the distance. The feeling he got from the man in black was cold and bloodthirsty. Damn it! Let's kill these 2 first. Xiao Yi regained his senses and looked at the 2 monarch emperor warriors who were attacking him. With a cold smile, he turned around and attacked. The strength of these 2 men was only at the level of 2 or 3 monarch emperor warriors. He might be able to kill them if he used all of his strength. Qingwu, be careful. Yuan Tianmu was covered in dirt as he dodged the attack of a monarch emperor. When he swept his gaze over, he saw Su Qingwu was knocked down by a monarch emperor, and his eyes almost split open as he furiously roared. Wu! A trace of despair emerged in Su Qingwu's beautiful eyes. In the end, her strength was still not a match for these monarch emperor warriors. She could only watch helplessly as the opponent's killing move came towards her. Swoosh! In the nick of time, a fiery light flashed. The monarch emperor in front of him let out a miserable cry. Then, he was shocked to find that he seemed to be locked by this flame, and was unable to escape. How dare you bully Sister Su? All of you must die! A clear cry sounded. Su Qingwu's eyelashes moved and she swiftly opened her eyes. She saw a light and agile figure rushing over like a ray of light. A palm was thrown out and the monarch emperor in front of her was sent flying. Wu Shaoqi. Seeing that Su Qingwu was safe and sound, Yuan Tianmu let out a soft sigh. He looked at the light and agile figure and let out a bitter laugh. 2 inches a lot of enemies. Wu Shaoqi was wearing a black dress and her pretty eyes looked around. A trace of shock flashed across her exquisite face, and then she frowned slightly. It seemed like the Yunluo Academy was really in danger this time. Kier, the few of you should join hands and pay attention to your safety. If you really can't do it, then retreat to the inner courtyard. Elder Wu, who had forced the enemy to retreat, appeared beside Wu Shaoqi in a flash. He instructed her in a deep voice. After which, his eyes were dark and cold as he looked at the distant sky. The clouds there had been torn apart. A monstrous ferocious aura spread from the body of the black-clothed person, as if it wanted to shake the heavens and earth. That's Black Nether Emperor? Wu Shaoqi nodded slightly and her eyes flashed. When she saw the man in black who was standing on the body of the giant flood dragon, she couldn't help but be startled. Hearing Elder Wu's reply, Wu Shaoqi immediately clenched her teeth tightly and her pink and tender fists could not help but clench. Her willowy eyebrows stood up. This bad guy is really rotten. She had heard news about Black Nether Emperor in the Inner Academy when she had come out of Realm and Valley. The latter's actions naturally caused her to be extremely furious. Don't be reckless. This is a life or death situation for the Academy. You must listen to orders. Elder Wu shouted in a low voice. He clearly knew Wu Shaoqi's character. Gritting her teeth fiercely, Wu Shaoqi grunted and did not speak anymore. Everyone from the Yunluo. It has been many years since we last met. Black Nether Emperor was dressed in a black robe. The cold wind around his body blew his black robe away, revealing an extremely cold expression. His eyes were like ice that would never melt in 10,000 years. It was enough to penetrate one's heart and send a chill down one's spine. At the same time his voice rang out, the people who were fighting in the square also withdrew their hands. They looked at Black Nether Emperor, who was standing on the body of the mysterious dragon. To most people, the name of the latter had always been a legend in their minds. Today, they could actually see it so clearly. What did you do to make these guys listen to you? Elder Shao's expression was gloomy. His words hit the nail on the head and aroused the curiosity of all the experts present. As the higher-ups of their respective sects, they were also very puzzled as to why their sect master would attack the Yunluo Academy at all costs. It's just a little trick. Black Nether Emperor's face was expressionless. His cold and indifferent voice was gently transmitted out. It was like the ice of the 9 underworlds, and it was extremely cold. When Elder Shao heard this, his eyes were filled with fury, and he didn't know what to say for a moment. Let those 2 old bastards from your academy come out. Today, I have gathered such a powerful formation. If those 2 old bastards don't come out, the Yunluo Academy will turn into ashes in less than half a day. Everyone will die, including that Xiao Yan. Black Nether Emperor spread both of his hands. Monstrous black chi spread out, covering a part of the sky. Waves of black chi rose and waves of soul-stirring drum beats rolled out from within. It was like the stern cry of a devil god in the depths of hell. Breaking the Yunluo Academy? Black Nether Emperor, your tone is a little too arrogant. Before Elder Shao could speak, a white light suddenly shot out from the direction of the inner courtyard. The light shook slightly and an old woman's figure appeared in front of everyone. She was holding a wooden walking stick. Her hair was white and her body was slightly bent. Her thin and weak body had a strength that shocked everyone. It was Grandma Bai. She is one of the old Qi and Bai brothers of the Yunluo Academy. She has already reached the monarch cultivation realm a few years ago. Compared to Black Nether Emperor, she is only stronger. These 100 monarch emperor warriors are just a matter of a few slaps from Grandma Bai. With the two of them working together, I'm afraid that even Black Nether Emperor will be afraid of them. Finally, we can find out why this guy is so fearless. I don't think that mysterious Great Elder is in the academy. Otherwise, no matter how arrogant Black Nether Emperor is, he would never dare to invade the Yunluo Academy openly. ... On the peak of the mountain far away, more and more people were watching this intense battle. When they saw Grandma Bai's appearance, everyone's blood boiled. If they could see the battle between two monarch cultivation warriors today, then this trip would not be in vain. Bai Ying, why are you the only one here? Where's that old Qi Yun? Black Nether Emperor's expression didn't change at all when he saw Grandma Bai, as if he had already expected this. He asked in a soft voice, I alone am enough to deal with you. Grandma Bai straightened her body. Her voice was loud and clear. Her thin body, which was wrapped in a black robe, seemed to be about to fall at any time in the raging origin Qis that filled the sky. With just you? Aren't you afraid that saying these words will make you lose your tongue? Hearing this, Black Nether Emperor finally let out a laugh. The tip of his foot lightly tapped on the giant flood dragon beneath him, and his voice was cold. This will make you unable to escape. The mysterious dragon snake seemed to have received some kind of order after his words sounded. It suddenly roared towards the sky. The aura of the holy beast soared into the sky, causing the surrounding mountains to collapse. The air exploded, and even the heavens and earth seemed to be unable to withstand this might. Everyone trembled. Only now did they notice the flood dragon under Black Nether Emperor's feet. It was also an expert who had reached the level of the holy beast. Boom! A black light flashed, and the mysterious dragon snake had already transformed into a large muscular man. The muscles all over his body bulged, and his murderous aura was shocking. His black hair was messy, and his deep eyes had a strange scarlet-red color. Compared to him, Gu Man was the size of a child. Holy beast! Seeing this, everyone from the Yunluo Academy took a cold breath. They looked at each other with bitter eyes. A Black Nether Emperor was not easy to deal with. Now, there was actually a holy beast expert. The weakest holy beast was equivalent to a human monarch cultivation expert. How should they fight this battle? Siriz. Grandma Bai was also shocked in her heart. She did not expect this sudden change and spoke in a deep voice. Roar! The large man's eyes were red and the veins on his forehead were bulging. He completely ignored Grandma Bai's question. His huge fist was like the wind as it rushed over like it broke through the space. It was like a falling meteorite that caused the air to explode. He did not say a word as he attacked Grandma Bai. Shock flashed across Grandma Bai's aged face and she immediately let out a soft cry. The crutch in her hand gently tapped in the air and green origin cheese gushed out. In an instant, it transformed into a wooden dragon that was dozens of feet in size. The surface of the wooden dragon's body was filled with tree patterns, and its body trembled. It was as if there was a majestic life force lingering around it. Behind this life force, another deadly aura of death. Origin, Azure Dragon's spiritual body. An incomparably majestic green origin chi gushed out from the top of the dragon's head. All of it was poured into the body of the wooden dragon. The latter seemed to have a life of its own. With a swing of its huge tail, it had already charged towards the large man with a loud bang. Along the way, dragon roars reverberated. Under the frightening aura, everyone dodged far away. Buzz! Under everyone's gaze, the wooden dragon and the large man's iron fist collided without any fancy moves. A loud explosive sound that was about to shatter the space was emitted. In the next moment, the large man could not help but take a few steps back. The wooden dragon merely swung its huge tail and returned to normal. Huh? Seeing this, Grandma Bai could not help but softly doubt. As if she had realized something, her nervous mood calmed down quite a bit. It seemed that this holy beast's injuries were not ordinary. At this level, at most, it would only be a peak emperor cultivation. Although it was still powerful, it would save a lot of effort to deal with it. Hey! Black Nether Emperor stood motionless in the air. When he saw the profound dark dragon snake being sent flying, he couldn't help but reveal a smile. The 5 fingers in his black robe slowly tightened, as if something had just happened. The eyes of the profound dark dragon snake that was sent flying suddenly emitted a blood-red light that sent chills down one's spine. "What are you still standing there for? Kill them!" After doing all of this, Black Nether Emperor looked around and coldly harumphed. His voice exploded in everyone's ears. In an instant, an intense battle erupted in the square once again. At the same time, in the mysterious space below Heaven Pillar Peak, Xiao Yan slowly opened his eyes, which had been silent for nearly a month.